everybody, Benjamin here, and welcome back to my ranking of all 96 tracks in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. We've officially crossed into the top 32 tracks in the game, meaning that we're entering into some of the best Mario Kart tracks of all time. If you missed parts 1 and 2, feel free to go back and check those out, but if this is your first time here, honestly, you've arrived at the best part. Is my Wii bias finally gonna show? Yeah, probably, but can you blame me? You know what? Let's not waste any more time here. Let's just get right into the finale. Alright, similar to B- tier, A+ tier is the middle ground between A and S tier. All 7 of these tracks are even better than the previous tier, but there's still some minor nitpicks that I have with these tracks that barely keep them out of the top 25. So, call this the appetizer to the main course.
Number 32, Moo Moo Meadows. Let's start things off with the rarity in Mario Kart, relaxation. Moo Moo Meadows is a peaceful stroll through the Mushroom Kingdom's countryside, and its glow up from the original Wii game is something I never knew that I wanted until now. The beautiful sunrise, gorgeous overhauled visuals, and soothing remastered soundtrack make this such a pleasant drive even when playing online. The funniest part is that you can actually lap 12th place due to the short length of the track, giving me even more incentive to play this track just so that I can absolutely dominate. Number 31, Wild Woods. Previously, I've mentioned a handful of tracks that have grown on me over the past few years, and Wild Woods is the prime example of this. Back in 2015, when this track first released, I, for whatever reason, wasn't the biggest fan of this track, and it mostly had to do with the theming being fairly similar to Maple Treeway from Mario Kart Wii. But ever since that track was added through the Booster Course Pass, I could finally look at Wild Woods for what it is rather than what it isn't. Once again, those base game visuals pop, and there's a ton of background movement that make this track come alive like no other in the game. In fact, it almost feels like I'm driving through the Lost Woods from Zelda, making this track an even better representation of the Zelda series than Hyrule Castle ever could. Nintendo really let their imagination run wild with this one.
Oh, I knew you'd get it. I knew you'd get it!
Number 30, Coconut Mall. If we were talking about the original Wii version of this track, it would easily crack the top 10. However, there are a handful of issues that knock it down a couple of ranks. The colors are a little too oversaturated, the escalators are too easy to make out, and the cars in the parking lot aren't nearly as hazardous as the original. Even with these adjustments though, it still feels like Coconut Mall. The biggest change that drags this track down is the lack of Mii's in the crowd. That element in the Wii version was such a unique feature that Mario Kart 8 simply doesn't have a feature of and thus cannot replicate. So without them, the track feels super empty. Again, it still feels like Coconut Mall, but the changes keep it from being ranked any higher than the top 30. Number 29, Shroom Ridge. The graphics are absolute garbage! And that's the only bad thing I have to say about this track. Shroom Ridge was a track that I forgot even existed until it was shown off in the reveal of the Booster Course Pass. When playing this track in Wave 1, it didn't stand out all too much, but as more and more tracks were added, this one kept standing out more and more. It's a drift-heavy track with an extra challenge of dodging slow-moving traffic. It also added some new shortcuts that are super satisfying to pull off. And finally, the music is an underrated head bopper. I'm very glad Nintendo brought this track back, as it is easily the best traffic course in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. Number 28, Athens Dash. Here's an interesting one. Athens doesn't feel like any ordinary city track compared to its tour counterparts. Instead, the majority of the track takes place amongst the ruins of the Greek structures that Greece is known for. The first 2 laps take place amongst these set pieces, making for an extremely dynamic layout with many split paths and shortcuts present. The actual city doesn't appear until the 3rd lap, and even then, it's only for a brief few turns before coming back to an exciting climb up the ruined hills. Such a fantastic track that's only held back by some minor jank here and there. Number 27, Waluigi Stadium. Holy cow, I never thought this track would return. Waluigi Stadium is such a great classic from both Mario Kart Double Dash and Mario Kart Wii, and thanks to the half pipes, new anti-grav pads, and the visual overhaul, I can safely say that this is the superior version of this track across all its appearances. It really does combine all the best elements of its predecessors and adds even more on top of it. I will say that the road does feel a little too wide to the point where the track can feel a little bit empty in some places, but that's a minor nitpick. Number 26, SNES Bowser Castle 3. For all the troubles that the SNES remake seemed to have previously, Bowser Castle 3 finally got the GBA remake treatment that the SNES tracks deserve. This track is evidence that even Super Mario Kart has good layouts that can be modernized to stand toe-to-toe with the current generation. The elevation changes, additions of anti-gravity, and the slim paths on top of the walls add all the dynamics necessary for some chaotic Mario Kart fun. The only thing that holds this glow up back is the short length, but that's just the nature of the old school courses.
We've made it! The top 25! From here on out, I basically have nothing truly negative to say about these tracks. Every single one of them have all the necessary elements to make Mario Kart Mario Kart. So without further ado, let's get into the fun.
Number 25, Sydney Sprint, the best tour city track hands down. Where all the other cities have slipped up one way or another, Sydney feels the most like a traditional Mario Kart track in terms of its layout. Every turn in the layout flows naturally from section to section. While the Opera House is the only major city set piece, the good track flow matters more. I like the park section as well as the bridge, where on the first lap, you're driving under the ramps, but on the preceding laps, you get to drive on top of them. Talk about genius track design. And of course, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention the sax solo here. Whether or not it's better than Dolphin Shoals is up for debate. I'm just glad it's here. Number 24, Cloud Top Cruise. More Mario Galaxy references. Based on the Cloudy Court Galaxy from Super Mario Galaxy 2, Cloud Top Cruise has that creative track design that tells a story through its layout. You start on the clouds themselves, bouncing around till you get to the airship, signaling that you're in nefarious territories. This leads to a barrel cannon that shoots you into a storm cloud, with lightning violently striking the boost panels, which is a unique obstacle not seen in other tracks. Finally, you glide out of the storm, landing on a question mark block with a vine coming out of it, just like the 2D Mario games. This is all accompanied by the stellar Galaxy soundtrack. Such a great love letter to those games. Number 23, Wii U Bowser's Castle. How was this the only Bowser's Castle in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe until the last wave of the Boost Course Pass in 2023? That's 9.5 years of the same Bowser's Castle.
Well, luckily for us, it's a real good one.
This Bowser's Castle carries a lot of similar elements to the Wii version of Bowser's Castle, with the flame wheels and mechanical Bowser being major set pieces for the track. However, you've got a few other unique obstacles that haven't been seen in previous Bowser Castles, such as the statues at the beginning of the race that shoot lasers, there's a ball and chain, and even boulders at the end of the race. This combination of elements, along with the wacky anti-grav roads, keep a perfect track structure held tightly together, allowing it to be as timeless as it is. Number 22, Koopa Cape. Oh boy, we got a controversial one in the lineup. Just like Moonview Highway and Coconut Mall, it's hard to ignore the minor downgrades that Mario Kart 8's version of Koopa Cape has faced, specifically with the underwater portion on the third section of the track lacking the electrical wheels from the Wii version. However, what this track does retain is the speed of the original. Koopa Cape has this F-Zero feel, where on every turn, you have to retain your speed to stay ahead in the race. And all three sections excel at doing this, from the river to the ocean. I mean, come on, man. It's still Koopa Cape at the end of the day. Just an all-around fun track despite the adjustments. Number 21, DK Summit. Man, before the half pipes were added in the Booster Course Pass, if you told me that DK Summit was coming to Mario Kart 8, I would have never believed you. This track was always one of my personal favorites from Mario Kart Wii, and thanks to the aforementioned half pipes returning, it was great to see this track make a comeback. That being said, and I know I'm trying to be as positive as possible here, but I have to admit, the half pipes can become extremely janky to the point where it could actually ruin your race. Plus, there are a couple other tracks in the Mario Kart series that do this vertical track layout even better than this one, which I will leave out for spoiler purposes. Again, say it with me now.
It's still DK Summit at the end of the day.
Alright, I get it!
Number 20, Daisy Cruiser. As we crack into the top 20, we start coming across some unique ideas that should never work as Mario Kart tracks, and yet Nintendo succeeds at executing them. This trend begins with Daisy Cruiser. It has a very relaxing aesthetic on the surface, but don't let that fool you. The lower deck reveals just how unstable the waves make the dining room as the tables jostle from side to side. There's even an aquarium on the lowest part of the ship that almost makes you think the ship is flooded. All in all, while I ultimately prefer the original Double Dash version of this track, this version still manages to reign among the greats, along with Number 19, Tick-Tock Clock. Yet another ingenious idea for a track, where the racers are driving inside a clock tower inspired by Super Mario 64. There are a ton of hidden details and moving parts that make this track feel so alive. And honestly, I think that's all I have to say to explain why this track is so great. Nintendo once again takes an abstract idea for a track and makes it spectacular. Number 18, Piranha Plant Slide. Here's another track that tells a story like Cloud Top Cruise, this time being inspired by the original Super Mario Bros. World 1-2. This is one of my absolute favorites from Mario Kart 7, and beyond the new remastered visuals, this track feels the most like you're actually playing a level straight out of the mainline Mario games. You can't forget that underground jingle mixed throughout the soundtrack. Once again, not much more to say here. The concept and its execution are enough to rank it so high. Number 17, Yoshi Circuit. I'm obviously not the first person to point this out, but the track's layout makes the shape of Yoshi. Seriously though, who would have thought that this would make for the best drift-focused track in the whole game? Sometimes that's truly all you need to make a near-perfect Mario Kart track. Just the silhouette of a character and the best circuit theme in all of Mario Kart, yeah? Number 16, Cheeseland. Okay, probably another controversial ranking. This track is infamous for being a bagger track. For those of you who don't know, bagging in Mario Kart is essentially a strategy where a player intentionally stays in or near last place to receive stronger items, which are then used to make a comeback. Thanks, Google AI. Like I've said previously, I don't want shortcuts to be too excessive at any track, but here, screw it. It's in the freaking name of the track. Cheeseland. What other track should have so many intentional shroom cuts? For real though, this is a phenomenal remake of a classic GBA track, giving all the extra bells and whistles of modern Mario Kart tracks to help it stand up to snuff with the greats. I've always had the best time giving myself an extra challenge by front-running this track. Besides, doing so allows me to enjoy yet another sax solo with an amazing groove.
I like trains.
Number 15, Calamari Desert. Man, you talk about a track that had no right being as good as it is. Calamari Desert is just two ovals. Two ovals! And yet, Nintendo makes it work. Let's start with the music this time. It's the first thing that stands out when you're taking that first turn. And honestly, the track plays out like the original version did on Nintendo 64. But then, like Peach Gardens, Mario Kart Tour actually does something good by making laps 2 and 3 require you to drive on the train tracks against the train itself. Something the original N64 game wished it did back in the day. This one change took this track from a mediocre position with a train in it to top 15 caliber track with a train. Did I mention there's a train in this track? Isn't that so freaking cool? Okay, whoa, that was weird. Okay, I need to take a quick breather from that last one. Hopefully this isn't as crazy. Number 14, Wario's Gold Mine. And it has another train. Oh, okay, it's mine carts, not a real train. Okay. Full disclosure here, this was my number 1 personal favorite track in Mario Kart Wii. And this version of the track largely stays faithful to the original, unlike most of the other Wii tracks thus far. Sure, the mine carts don't hurt you anymore and instead give you a speed boost, but honestly, this change doesn't bother me too much because it makes the track feel a little more fresh. Plus, there's still a chance the boost can actually spin you off the track. Ultimately, the roller coaster feel that this track retains from the original is what matters most here. Number 13, Ribbon Road, the best GBA remake, hands down. Ribbon Road in Mario Kart 8 takes the abstract theming of the original and turns it into the best use of a minifigure gimmick. It literally feels like a Hot Wheels playset come to life, and you get to see it from the vehicle's perspective. The track also has a perfect 3-section structure that gradually advances the difficulty of the track throughout its circuit. This is signified by the red, green, and blue ribbons. Like TikTok Clock, there's really not much else to say here. Just let the track speak for itself. Number 12, Mushroom Gorge. I'll say it, this is the best version of this track, even surpassing the original Wii version. Every route that was introduced from the original to the tour version is here. The split paths in each section, they're here. The blue mushroom from Mario Kart 7, that's here too. The hidden red mushrooms at the beginning of the race that were taken out in later versions, they're both back. And the most important of all, the OG gap cut. Even that is uncompromised from its original version of the track. A flawless remake from top to bottom that made no sacrifices or added any unnecessary gimmicks. It's Mushroom Gorge exactly how you remember it, but in HD. Wait a minute, there's a red mushroom missing from this path. Number 11, GBA Mario Circuit. Hold on, wait a minute. Didn't I just say that Ribbon Road was the best GBA? What is this? What is a Mario Circuit doing it? Okay, let me be real here. My Mario Kart 8 Deluxe stat sheet actually tells me that this is my favorite track in the game. And I think I know why. This track is the perfect warm-up course to get myself settled into a round of Mario Kart. It has literally all the necessary elements to make a great Mario Kart track. You've got some simple yet tight turns, a short elevated anti-gravity section, some small oil slicks, and a plethora of shortcuts to utilize. It's everything necessary to get you warmed up before taking on the more advanced courses in the game. And the best part, it still maintains that old school feel while being modernized to meet the current gen standards. I've never had a negative experience on this track, and it truly feels like comfort food. If these points don't convince you, then at least I'm not insane enough to put it in the top 10. Speaking of which...
Okay, time for a shift in tone. Just for a moment. All the tracks in the previous tier are collectively amazing, but these next 10 tracks deserve a whole tier on their own. These 10 are not only my favorite tracks in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe specifically, but just might be my favorite Mario Kart tracks in history. Again, I must emphasize that this is just my opinion, which is what you came here for. So without further ado, let's begin the countdown. In 3, 2, 1, let's set go! Woohoo!
Number 10, Electrodrome, the superior music track. Personally, I've always leaned a little more on the electronic side of music, and honestly, that might be the main reason I like this track better than Music Park. The complexity of both is pretty similar, but the presentation of this track is what shoots its quality through the stratosphere. Mario Kart is known for its upbeat soundtrack, and the music here goes all out. Seeing all the Piranha Plants, Shy Guys, and Koopas dancing along with the beat in combo with the confetti feels like this track is a true celebration of Mario Kart. The track itself even has a couple of cool off-road shortcuts that add to the fun. Number 9, Squeaky Clean Sprint. Nintendo cooked with this one. Who would have ever thought that a bathroom could make for a good track? Not just that, but it makes for an unintentionally great underwater intro track too. You start out on the bathroom countertop with a quick splash into the sink before diving down a towel to arrive at the main event, the bathtub. In here, you're driving on top of sponges, jumping over bath bombs, all sorts of stuff like that. This leads seamlessly into an open drain where you drive through the pipeline, finding a lost wedding ring in the process. Next, you pop out onto the bathroom floor, getting air dried by the fan before finally shooting back up over a spewing toilet to the countertop and replaying the race over again. Nintendo packed so many details that I could spend all day pointing out, but I think you get the idea on why this track is so incredible. Number 8, Wii Rainbow Road. On the note of celebration, What a way to end the Booster Course Pass and Mario Kart 8 Deluxe as a whole. The Wii version of Rainbow Road is easily the most difficult and truest test of skill that a Mario Kart track has ever presented. While there are just a few more guardrails this time around, the challenge still remains. All the unique elements from the previous version of this track return as well. From the star bits and the planets, to the star launcher and the rings, to even the meteor effect that occurs when you fall off the track. The biggest mechanical difference compared to Mario Kart Wii is that the whole track is in anti-gravity like the F-Zero tracks. Add the Mario Galaxy inspired music and
It was perfect. Perfect. Everything, down to the last minute details.
And speaking of F-Zero, Number 7, Big Blue, the superior F-Zero track in the game. Talk about a perfect ending to the original Mario Kart 8 game. This track once again incorporates the extreme fast-paced nature of the F-Zero games, but this time around, it's way more difficult compared to Mute City. You got a zillion speed boosts, some Toad's Factory-like conveyor belts, a water current section like Koopa Cape, and even a converging paths section in the home stretch of the race like Ice Ice Outpost, except this time, the gimmick actually works. No one gimmick ever overstays its welcome, so the track stays fresh at every turn. That's what it's like when you create a section track. And how many more times must I mention the incredible soundtrack? Number 6, ladies and gentlemen, we found ourselves at the best crossover track in Mario Kart 8, Yoshi's Island. Now I know it's a little hard to qualify this as a crossover because Yoshi's Island is still part of the Mario universe and is technically Super Mario World 2, but the way this track presents itself gives off those crossover vibes. The sound effects, the Yoshi coins, the unique color palette, even the results screen music stands out unlike anything that's seen in the other tracks. It's so cool how Nintendo was able to take the title screen of Yoshi's Island and turn it into one track, giving you a taste of every world in Yoshi's Island from the original SNES game. The piece of resistance is the shortcut that only activates if you touch the question mark cloud to make the red bridge appear on the final turn. Just like in the game. Best shortcut in a racing game ever. Number 5, we've now entered the top 5, and each track here is my favorite track in its respective game that it represents, starting with my favorite Wii track, Maple Treeway. This was the main track I wanted to see return to the Booster Course Pass just so that I could hear a live acoustic version of this beautiful song. It was also a track that I felt desperately needed an HD remake to capture the full beauty this track was trying to present in Mario Kart Wii. While the graphics weren't quite what I was hoping for, the layout flows and builds so nicely with the music. This was also the first track in Mario Kart 8 to bring back the half pipes, and for a test run, it was so satisfying to do that for the first time in forever. This is the most pleasant and relaxing track to drive through in this game. Number 4, 3DS Rainbow Road. This track is not only my favorite Mario Kart 7 track, but it's also my favorite Rainbow Road in the entire Mario Kart series. Utilizing the one-lap structure to its fullest potential, 3DS Rainbow Road was the first in the series to not focus so much on the extreme difficulty, but really lean in on the magic that these kind of tracks evoke. It is also the first Rainbow Road to not entirely be a Rainbow Road for the whole race. Yet it helps this track to stand out even more. Driving on Saturn's rings and the moon allow the track to make you feel like you're really in deep space to the fullest extent. And in my humble opinion, this has the best Rainbow Road texture I've ever seen in a Mario Kart game. It's like you're really driving on the stars. So cool. Number 3. Mount Wario! Oh yeah, it is my track, cheaters! The best base Mario Kart 8 track. What is there to say about this track that hasn't already been said by hundreds of content creators since 2014? Mount Wario was the first track to try this new layout type that didn't actually loop, but rather start in one place and end in another. In this instance, you start by dropping out of a helicopter at the peak of a mountain. The first section is simple enough with a mixture of snow and icy roads, but in section 2, You'll go from an ice cave to the side of a dam to a deep forest populated with several trees that are fairly difficult to navigate around. The final section turns into an Olympic alpine ski slope, where you twist from side to side, making small jumps and maneuvering around moguls. And for the grand finale, you blast down an Olympic ski jump, taking off in front of a crowd of thousands cheering your name until you cross the finish line and are greeted with roaring applause. I never thought a Mario Kart track could ever give me goosebumps, but Nintendo succeeded. Number 2, Waluigi Pinball. I am never ever going to act like this track isn't one of the greatest Mario Kart tracks of all time. I am sick and tired of the pinball hating zombies mindlessly dogging on this track. So you know what? Let's go through every criticism this track has gotten over the past couple of years and debunk every single one of them. Number 1, this track doesn't spend enough time on the main pinball table. Yeah, and neither does a real pinball machine. You're intentionally trying to shoot it into the higher places on the pinball machine to get more points, and that's where the majority of this track is spent. Number 2, there aren't any shortcuts whatsoever in this track. And that's what I love so much about this track on its own. For once, you have a Mario Kart track that is 100% skill-based and doesn't allow for any cheesy plays with last-minute shroom cuts. Now, to be fair, there should be multiple paths in the machine itself, but still, I just love how many twists and turns there are while avoiding the pinballs, and it really rewards the most skilled racing players. Number 3, the track just isn't as good as its original DS incarnation. Come on, other than the cannon not packing as huge of a punch like the DS, everything else remains intact. From the unique elements such as the pinball and bumper obstacles to the pinball sound effects that play from the pinball launcher, the boost pads, and even the item roulette. And number 4, they reuse the same music from Mario Stadium. So what? This remix of the original song is a banger anyways. Just listen to it. I know I can't convince everyone, but I will always hold this track in high regard. Now, let me take you back to when the Booster Course Pass Wave 1 was released. In that wave, we saw advertisements for Dino Dino Jungle and Vanilla Lake on the trucks and posters all around Coconut Mall. This pretty quickly shot down my hope for a certain track getting into Mario Kart 8. Time passes, and more of my personal fan favorites make a return, including Waluigi Pinball, Maple Treeway, and 3DS Rainbow Road. Halfway through the DLC, an update was made to Mario Kart Tour, adding a new track that was so grand in scale, too grand perhaps for a mobile game. Suddenly, hope was reignited. But waves 4 and 5 came and went, and yet no appearance of Mario Kart's magnum opus. Wave 6 first track didn't impress me too much either, and all hope seemed to be lost. But then, on November 9th, 2023, it finally arrived. That's right, DK Mountain is not only my number 1 favorite track in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, but my favorite Mario Kart track of all time. Sure, half of the reasoning is nostalgia, but come on! Graphics are on par with the base game. The premise of the track alone is still as perfect as ever. The pointless half-pipes return from Wii, the jumps on the volcano are naturally built into the mountain unlike in previous versions, the gap cut is still present, the narrow bridge at the end now allows for tricks, and of course, the DK barrel cannon returns in all its glory. Every single thing that I adore about Mario Kart is all present in this track. As I said, nostalgia still plays a factor in this number 1 pick, but it goes beyond that. Growing up, I had a lot of surgeries, meaning I had many hospital visits throughout my childhood. Through it all, though I didn't fully understand it at the time, I knew that God had a bigger plan for my life. To get through the hard times at the hospitals, they provided GameCube carts that would allow patients to play select games on the system. And the one game that was fully playable on there was Mario Kart Double Dash. This game was the one thing that put a smile on my face while having an IV in my arm and a tube up my nose. And the one track that stood out above all the others was DK Mountain. At the time, I wasn't super good, so I never was able to unlock the Special Cup. That meant that DK Mountain was the finale of the game to me. The DK cannon, the volcano, the action that proceeded as you barreled down the mountain, and the rickety bridge before the finish line made for an epic ride. And every single one of these elements carried over in the incarnations to come, including Mario Kart 8. This track means so much to me on a personal level. No other track could ever come close to topping this one, and that's why it comes in at number 1.
And with that, we've reached the end. Thank you so much for watching. It's been a blast going through Mario Kart 8 Deluxe again and just replaying some of my favorite and admittedly not so favorite tracks in the game. Again, if you missed parts 1 and 2, feel free to check those out on my channel. I'll link them at the end of this video. On the last note here, I mentioned how I've had a lot of surgeries in my life and just have a long history. It's kind of a lot to try to put into a video, but fortunately, my dad recently came out with a book titled M.I.P, which is this book right here called Miracle in Progress. It's the story about my life through my dad's lens and how God has used our lives and the difficulties that I face to point other people to Jesus. I hope I can do that here, and this book especially, if you want to check it out, will definitely help you in your walk with Christ. So feel free to check it out, link is in the description, and you can check it out at www.chipwagner.com. I'm not entirely certain what my next video is going to be about, but I have some ideas that make me excited for the future of this channel. So feel free to subscribe to keep up to date with the latest videos that come out on this channel. Now, if you'll excuse me, I'm gonna go see if I can get a Switch 2. Honestly, with that price tag though, $450 is good for the system, but $80 for Mario Kart World, obviously I'm a big Mario Kart fan, but like, that much? I mean, they're gonna have to bring something in like Airship Fortress if they're gonna do that. Oh my gosh! Okay, you know what, I'm sold. I'm gonna go get one. Let's jam out first, and then I'm gonna go get one. All right, see you guys later. Bye.